So we're gonna check back in with the Ignorant Geek Network, which has been endlessly parodied and attacked by very knowledgeable fans of various fandoms, from Wheel of Time to Lord of the Rings to the MCU to the DCEU. And to be fair to them, I thought they were a little bit on the upswing. Now, I think IGN will always be what it is. It's kind of a clown organization. But recently, the reviews were mostly okay. I thought they were properly harsh towards Halloween Ends. They gave it a 5. I was even going lower, but okay, that makes sense. They were even harsh towards Darling with Olivia Wilde, which is a very feminist film, but they were still very critical. Okay, so they were getting back their respectability. But of course, nothing lasts forever, and they're back to their same old ways of loving everything in the MCU and hating Snyder and the DCU for reasons. So we're going to hear Josh explain what is wrong with Black Adam and what was so great with the MCU and Christopher Nolan.
Carries none of the wisdom Hollywood has learned from the likes of The Dark Knight and Iron Man and all the other great comic book movies that have come out since then.
Assemble.
The movie is made clunky by too much exposition, the villain is one-dimensional, and there's an over-reliance on spectacle over character and story. Come on, aren't we past all that? Don't we know better by now?
Well, I don't even know where to begin with this. So let's go through this somewhat thoroughly, because I could go on forever with the problems of Infinity War and Endgame. Let's think through this criteria just for a second. So you're saying one-note villain, spectacle, character. Okay. So let's just take Endgame very quickly, and we'll go through 2 examples. So we have Bruce Banner, a genius in science, and he can't figure out time travel without the help of Tony Stark. Apparently, Bruce can't research the subject. He can't even contact other theoretical physicists. He can't bring in outside help. And he's a complete moron when it comes to physics. Because? Don't know. Also, apparently, S.H.I.E.L.D., a massive organization, has no physicists that could come in and help him. None. Not a single one. Okay, that makes no sense. And then we have ScarJo meeting Red Skull and deciding, I'm going to sacrifice myself. How did she know that? How did Black Widow know what the Red Skull wanted? For all she knew, he might have wanted a peanut butter jelly sandwich. How did they know they would have to sacrifice someone coming in? The Red Skull could have demanded something that they couldn't give him and just turned away empty-handed. I admit there were some good character moments and interactions in Endgame. I'd say about 5% of the time the characters made sense. 95% of the time, they acted like complete fucking morons. Didn't make sense at all. And your criteria, one-note villain? In Endgame, Thanos just wants to destroy everything. Spectacle, they just had one mindless action scene after another, for no reason, even if it created massive plot contradictions. And talk about exposition. Exposition? You could literally just cut Endgame in half. It has way more exposition than Black Adam. So your criteria is completely self-contradictory, and it doesn't even apply to Black Adam.
Funny story, a little bit of trivia. This movie has actually been in development by The Rock for 15 years, and it feels like the idea he had for that movie was like snapshotted and frozen in time, and then he brought it to the present, but completely ignored all the other movies that have come out since then and learned none of the lessons. So this is more of the vibe of like Daredevil and like Green Lantern instead of all of the much better superhero movies that have come out since then.
So apparently, Black Adam is bad because it's really an old film. You see, it's come out today, 2021, but really it feels like it came from the 1990s. So you're going to maintain that what? Batman Returns is a bad film because it came out in the 1990s? Batman Forever is a bad film because it came out in the 1990s? That makes no sense whatsoever. That's like saying Terminator 2 is a bad film because it's old. Well, I think appeals to authority are not good, but there are rare exceptions. So in this case, I'm going to quote my man, Paul Thomas Anderson, and I agree with him.
For literally 2 days. What happened was I walked into this class and this teacher said, you know, if anyone is here to write Terminator 2, just walk out. Just get out of the door. And I thought, well, that's just not a good way to start. What if I do want to write Terminator 2? What if someone sitting next to me wants to write? You know, he was sort of instantly saying, you know, we write serious films here, you know. Terminator 2 is a pretty awesome movie. So he said, yeah.
So yeah, an old film could be good. You're even citing old films. You cited The Dark Knight, and you cited Iron Man. And we'll put aside the sheer cultural atrocity of saying that The Dark Knight is comparable to Iron Man. Now, I like Iron Man. Iron Man is a very good film. It's a very respectable film. It's not one of the best films of all time. It's not even close to being compared to some of the best of Christopher Nolan. Now, Christopher Nolan has made bad films, even worse films than Iron Man, but not The Dark Knight. So you're just embarrassing yourself. So are you going to give us an actual reason to dislike Black Adam? And he finally produces a reason based on more cultural prejudices.
There are some flashes of brilliance here and there, largely thanks to the members of the Justice Society, but overall, Black Adam fizzles out, which is a shame.
So that's the reason. Oh yeah, there's some good stuff, with the JSA. Oh, we're gonna pull that card. Dwayne, he's good. He's not an actor, guys. I'm sorry. It's very one note. Putting aside the story demands he's one note, he plays that note pretty well. There's a lot of modulations that occur, which you're completely ignoring and are lying about. But we'll put that aside. I will maintain, in fact, that Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson actually did give a good acting performance in Black Adam. I think he gave a very solid performance in Black Adam. I don't know who you're appealing to or what nutsoid fan base you have, but really, these aren't reasons, and the reasons you gave don't make any sense by your own criteria. This review is just garbage, and we're not even fully done with it. But you've managed to jam pack an insane amount of idiocy in under 3 minutes and just rely upon very specious appeals to popular opinion. Like, well, a lot of people think Infinity War and Endgame are really good. Well, those people are idiots. And now I think personally, the EFAP is mostly filled with a bunch of moronic bigots and idiots and completely useless characters. However, despite my hatred of Mauler and Fringy and Rags and their idiocy and stupidity, I would reluctantly agree with Fringy. I do think Endgame was probably terrible. Now, I am more consistent. I think Infinity War was also equally terrible, if not more so. But we could debate the various stupidities of each one. Sometimes I go back and forth. Sometimes I think Endgame is more decent. But they're both pretty horrific pieces of work. So despite my own EFAP prejudices, I'd have to agree with Fringy. Endgame wasn't very good. If you liked Endgame, that's fine. But using your own criteria, you're wrong. Are you really going to tell us there was very little exposition in Endgame? In Endgame, they literally spent an hour and a half of just exposition that didn't make any sense and didn't go anywhere. Just pointless nonsense. But of course, I guess if you work for IGN, we got to be doing a lot of misrepresenting. Exposition? Endgame? Really? Is that what we're going to go with? Please try harder. Try. Please.